Block number 2, unit number 2, Pramanas. 2.0 Objectives. The main objective of this unit is to given details of Pramanas generally accepted by different schools of Indian philosophy. Each school have their own regions to uphold different Pramanas to suit to their metaphysical trends. As a student of philosophy, we make an effort to know them all to some extent, although we do not engage in validity of their arguments for one or the other means of knowledge. On the whole, this unit would give a general picture of different means of knowledge accepted in the different schools. Indian thought along with the validity in invalidity of knowledge as given in the schools of Indian thought. 2.1 Introduction. The central questions of epistemology include the origin of knowledge, the place of experience in generating knowledge, and the place of reason is in doing so, the relationship between knowledge and the responsibility of error, and changing form of knowledge that arise from new conceptualizations of the world. All of these issues link with other central concerns of Indian systems. There are four factors involved in any knowledge. The subject who works, pramata. Two, the object of knowledge, prameya. Three, the means of valid knowledge, pramana. For the rest, four, the resultant of valid knowledge, prama. Prama is valid knowledge. Knowledge can be valid valid or invalid. Valid knowledge is called prama and non-valid knowledge is known as aprama. Pramana is a valid means of knowledge and its important four means include perception, pratyaksha, inference, anumana, verbal testimony, savada, and comparison. Upamana. Different schools of Indian thought accept or reject different ones of these methods. All methods are accepted by Mimamsa. Only perception, inference, and testimony by yoga. Only perception and inference by Buddhism and Vaisesika, and only perceptions by Karavaka. 2.2 Anumana inference. Vaisesika recognize only two pramanas, perceptions and inference, and reduces comparison and verbal testimony to inference, but Naya system recognize all the four pramanas, namely perception, inference, verbal testimony, and comparison. According to Naya philosophy, the term Anumana literally means after knowledge, that is, knowledge that follows other knowledge, that it is immediate and indirect and are arranged through the medium of some mark which is called hetu, and bears the relation of invariable concomitance with the observed future. The basis of the inference in invariable concomitance, the invariable relation between the hetu and the sadhya is called vapati. The knowledge of the qualities of the paksha through the hetu is called paramarsa. Hence, inference or anumana is said to be knowledge gained through paramarsa, or in other words, the knowledge of the presence of sadhya in the paksha through the linga, which is in the quality of paksha and is invariably related by vapati. They may be explained with the help of typical example of inference: the presence of fire on the perception of smoke. When one sees smoke on distant hill, one remembers one experience of the universal concomitance vapati between smoke and fire and concludes that there is fire on the distant hill. The character which is inferred fire is called sadha. The mark on the strength of which the character is inferred is the hetu smoke. The subject where the character is inferred in is paksha hill. The three terms correspond to the major, minor, and the minor terms in the Aristotelian syllogism. The following is the typical Naya syllogism. 1. The hill has fire. Pratizana too, because it has smoke hetu. Whatever has smoke has fire. Example and oven. Udharana. For this hill as smoke which is invariably associated with fire. Upanyaya 5. Therefore this hill has fire nigamana. The first, the pratisna is the logical statement which is to be proved. The second is hetu or reason which states the reason for the establishment of the proposition. The third is udharana with the universal concomitants together with example. The fourth is upanaya or application of the universal concomitants to the present case. The fifth in is nigamana or conclusion drawn from the preceding propositions. These five members of Indian syllogism are called abhyagats. Linga Paramarsa. The Nyaya syllogism has five terms. Among them, middle term works as a bridge between the major and the minor terms. Therefore, the middle term has main responsibility to prove a syllogism valid or invalid. How a middle term is related to major term is Linga Paramarsa. There are five characteristics of a middle term. 1. It must be present in the minor term. Paksha Dharmata. Example, smoke must be present in the hill. 2. It must be present in all positive instances in which the major terms is present. Example, smoke must be present in the kitchen where fix exists. Sapaksha Tava. 3. It must be absent in all negative instances in which the major terms is absent. Example, smoke must be absent in the lake in which fire does not exist. Vipaksha Tava. 4. It must be non-incompatible with the minor term. Example, it must not prove the coolness of fire. Avadhita. 5. It must be qualified by the absence of uh, co- counteracting reasons which lead to a contradictory conclusion. Example, the fact of being caused should not be used to prove the eternally of sound. Aviruddha. Hedbhavasa. In Indian logic, a fallacy is called Hedbhavasa. It means that middle term appears to be a reason, but it is not a valid reason. All fallacies are material fallacies. We have mentioned the five characteristics of a valid middle term. When this is violated, we have fallacies. Five kinds of fallacies are recognized. असिद्ध or sum. This is the fallacy of unproved middle sabyavikara. This is the fallacy of irregular middle satpratipaksha. Here the middle term is contradicted by another middle term. Badhita. It is the non-inferentially contradicted middle. 5. Viruddha. It is the contradictory middle. According to Jaina's Tarka, logic is the knowledge of Vyapati between Paksha and Sadhya. It depends upon the perceptions whether two things exist together or not in past, present and future. Vyapati is of two kinds, Anavya Vyapati and Vatritika Vyapati. In the former, concomitance of two things is established. In the latter, Vyapati is shown in the absence. Where there is fire, there is smoke is an example of Anavaya Vyapati. On the other hand, where there is no fire, there is smoke. Exemplifies Vaitirika Vyapati, the relationship of universal accompaniment, gradual or concurrent exist in Vyapati. This relationship is ascertained by logic, tarka, inference, Anumana. It is the knowledge of sadhya with the help of hetu. This inference is either sarvathanumana or pararthanumana. The former is the grasp for one's own self, hence it needs no amplifications. For example, the frequent visibility of fire under smoke together suffix to convince us of their concomitance. Afterwards, when we see smoke, we infer the existence of a fire also with the help of apathy, which is already known to us. It is sarvatanumana. It is in it the place of smoke. Smoke is paksha. Smoke is paksha dharma. In Sarvathanumana, both Vyapati and Paksha dharma are essential. Parathanumana is used for convincing others. So it must be more systematized and vibed. It is fivefold Parathanumana, and inferences is drawn in five sentences. These sentences are called prepositions. Abhaya inference example. A pratisna, the heel is fairy. Hetu, because of smoke. Dras, Drastanta, wherever there is smoke, there is fire, such as in the kitchen. Upamanya. Upanaya, the smoke which does not exist without fire. Vyapati Visishtadham is in the hill. Nigamana, therefore the hill is fairy. Inference is twofold. One, Sarvathanumana, inference for one's own sake, and two, Parthanumana, the inference for the sake of others. The former is not expressed in the form of a syllogistic argument. The latter is a syllogism which helps to direct the mind of the listener to think in the required manner. The validity of inference is rejected by Caravaccus. Inference is said to be of merry help into the dark. We proceed here from the known unto the unknown, and there is no certainty in this. Through some inference may turn out to be accidentally true. A general preposition may be true in on perceived cases, but there is no guarantee that it will hold true in even in unperceived cases. Deductive inferences is vitiated by the fallacy of petitio principii. It is merely an argument in circles, since the conclusion is already contained in the major premise, the validity of which is not provided in inductive inference undertakes to prove the validity of the major premise of deductive inference, but induction too is uncertain because it proceeds unwarrantedly from the known to the unknown. In order to distinguish true induction from simple enumeration, it is pointed out that the former, unlike the latter, is based on causal relationship, which means invariable associations or Vyapati. Vyapati therefore is the neighbor of all inference, but the Karavaka challenges this universal and invariable relationship of concomitance and regards it a merry guess's walk. Mary guesses walk. Perception does not prove this Vyapati, nor can it be proved by inference, for inference itself is said to presuppose its validity. Testimony to can't prove it, for testimony itself is not a valid means knowledge. Secondly, testimony proves Vyapati. Inference would become dependent on testimony, and then none would be able to infer anything by himself. Hence, inference can be regarded as a valid source of knowledge. Induction is uncertain, and deduction's argument in a circle. The logicians therefore find themselves stuck up in mud of inference. The Karavaka position has been vehemently criticized by all systems of Indian philosophy, all of which have maintained the validity of at least perception and inference. To refuse the validity of inference from the empirical standpoint is to refuse to think and discuss all thoughts, all discussions, all doctrines, all affirmations and denials, all proofs and disproof are made possible by inference. The Karavaka view that perception is valid and inference is invalid. It is itself a result of inference. Karavaka can understand others only through inference and make others understand him only through inference. Thoughts and ideas not being material objects can't be perceived but can only be inferred. For Vaivasvikas, inference is of two types: sarvatha for the self and prartha for others. In the former, the linga is interferal, that is, in the inference there is fire on the hill. The hill is linga, and the fire is inferential. In it, the linga remains in self side Sabhapaksha, just as the kitchen the linga does not remain in the opposite side Vipaksa. Example: a pool of water, etc. According to Sautantrikas, they are subject to inference. There are four causes of knowledge. One, Alamban, it is the cause of external object like jog, etc., because the form of the knowledge and bond due to it. Second, Samantar, this is so called because it is only after the previous mental stage that the following stage attains consequentness. 3. Adhipati, the senses have been called as the Adhipati Prataya of the knowledge. It is the normative It is the normative cause. Without the senses, there can be no external knowledge. Knowledge, even after the presence of the first two causes, sahakari prataya. 4. These are the subsidiary conditions necessary for knowledge. Example, light from etc., without which knowledge becomes almost impossible. The knowledge of the external object becomes possible due to the above mentioned four causes or conditions. The Sautantrikas do not admit that the external objects have no existence and all knowledge is in the consequences, nor do they believe like the Vaivasikas that we know anything by direct perception as opposed to Vaivasikas. The Sautantrikas maintain that we anything by direct perception, as opposed to Vaivasikas. The Swatantrikas maintain that we have no direct perceptions of the external object, but only the knowledge of their appearance. It is by the distinction in these appearances which are the basis of the knowledge. Hence they are in the mind itself through the things which they represent as external objects are not known by their perception, but by the inference based upon the mental modifications aroused by them. This view is known as Bahayanumevada. It is representationalism or direct realism. Vijnana Vijnanavadins believe that all things external to mind are mental modifications, thus the knowledge of the external things is impossible. Hence, the thing which appears to be external should be taken as a mental concept. It can be questioned here that if the object is a mere concept of the mind, why does it not disappear, and change as desired? To this, Vijnanavadins reply that the mind is a mere stream in which the past experiences remain in the form of expressions, and whenever there is favorable conditions for a certain impression, the same impressions manifest and result into knowledge. From the multiple point of view, Vijayan and Vadins admit two types of knowledge: grahana and adhyavasaya. Grahana is indirect and adhyavasaya direct inference. The Vijnanavadins believe that the proof of things depends on something else. Parartha Pramanya Veda, they made two distinctions in the empirical truth paratara and parikalpa. Generally, there are varieties of inference recognized. The first is a syllogistic inference, which is based on perception. The second corresponds to analogical reasoning in modern logic. Such such inference is called samanya drashta. For example, from the observed fact that an effect like a jar requires for its production an agent like water, it is concluded that the world should have been brought into existence by a competent being, God. 2.3 Savada testimonies. Savada is defined as the statement of a trustworthy person, apatavakya, and consist in understanding its meaning. It is based on the words of trustworthy persons, humans or divine. A person is trustworthy if he knows his truth and conveys it correctly. Savada is interpreted as apatavakya, and a testimony is valid if the source is reliable. It may come not only from the scriptures but also from persons who are trustworthy. Apata testimony is of two kinds: Vedadika and secular. Laukika, the Vedika testimony is perfect and infallible because the Vedas are spoken by God's secular testimony, being the words of human beings who are liable to error and so no infallible. For the genus the Pramana is called Agama. It is the knowledge of a thing through the words of reliable people of person who knows things in their true form and express his views correctly is reliable and apatha. He is free from prejudice. His words befit the object which they are seeking to express. Agama is of two kinds of Laukika and Alaukika. According to Advaita, God is the author of Veda in a special sense. It is not his work in the literal sense. Like everything else, Veda also disappears at the end of the cycle, and God repeat it at the beginning of the next cycle. So far as its substance is concerned, it is independent of God. That is apuruscha according to Naya. God is the sole author of Veda, and according to Mimamsa, Vedas are self-existent. In Advaita, we find a midway positions between these two systems. According to Ramanuja, all knowledge points to a complex or qualified subject. Knowledge never reveals anything as nirguna. According to Ramanuja, nirguna does not mean having no qualities at all, but the absence of evil qualities. With respect to Sabada, there are 2 points to be noted. All sections of the Veda are equally important. There is no need to distinguish between the ritual portions and the knowledge portion as is done by Sankara. Ramanuja gives much importance to the Agamas as to the Veda and to the Upanishads. According to the Naya philosophy, Savada verbal testimony is the fourth and the last valid source of knowledge. Savada literally means verbal knowledge. It is the knowledge of object derived from words of sentence, but all verbal knowledge is not valid. Thus, Nayadvikas expressed that Savada is a pramana of valid verbal testimony. Savada is instructive assertion of a reliable person. Now question probably comes to your mind, that is, who is a reliable person? A reliable person may be Rishi Malacha Are, who is an expert in certain matter and is willing to communicate his experience of it. Example: suppose that a lady came to the side of a river to cross the river and can't ascertain as certain depth of water in the river. In the case, she asked a fisherman who is fishing there, that can I cross the river? Since the fisherman is a local person over there and has no enmity with her, replied that you can cross the river easily. Here, the word of the fisherman man is to be accepted as a means of right knowledge called verbal testimony. Types of Savada. These are two different kinds of Savada. A. Drushtata Adrushtata. B. Laukika Alaukika. The former classification is made on the basis of objects of meaning, and the latter classification is based on the origin of words. Savada deals with perceptible object is called drushtata. Example: table is brown, gross is green, etc. A sabada deals with imperishable object is called adrashta. Example: duty is God, truth is noble, etc. Laukika sabada is known as secular, whereas alaukika sabada is known as divine or Vaidika. The Vedas are spoken by God. The Vedic testimony is divine and perfect. According to Naikas, according to Naicus, since human beings are not perfect, only the words of trustworthy person can be considered as Laukika Savada. The verbal testimony is defined as that sentence in which the relation among the meaning of words that the verbal testimony is defined as that this Vaidika testimony is divine and perfect. According to Naikos, since human beings are not perfect, only the words of trust worthy person can be considered as Laukika Savada. The verbal testimony is defined as that sentence in which the relation among the meaning of words that is the object of its intentions is not contradicted by any other means of valid knowledge. According to Advaita, the purport of the scriptures is attributeless Brahman Nirguna Brahman, which is known by scrutinizing the intention of scriptures based on six indicatory marks that they are introduction, conclusion, upakarma, upasamhara, repetitions, avyasaha, uniqueness, apurvata, result, phala, eology, Arthavadan logical presentation upapati. A word can reveal its meaning in the primary sense, and in cases where primary sense is unfitting, they are known by their secondary sense, deriving the meaning of a word through its secondary implications is of three kinds, namely exclusive jahalakshana, inclusive Ajhalaksana, and exclusive inclusive. Jahal Jahalakshana, the identity statements, Maha the Mahavakya, according to Advaita, reveals the identity meaning by the applications of exclusive inclusive implication. According to the Mimamsa philosophy, testimony is a reliable statement uttered by a trustworthy person. Similar to Nyaya philosophy, it is stated that a sense consists of a group of words, and a word is considered as an entity which has the power to express some meaning. Testimony is a valid knowledge which is derived from word or sentence, but all words or sentence can't be treated as testimony, because all verbal expressions are not necessarily regarded as valid knowledge. So, on the account of Mimamsa, Savada must be based on the verbal assertions of a trustworthy person who knows the truth and desire to speak the truth for the guidance of others. Verbal testimony is used as meaningful words or sentences. The merry combinations of letters or the words don't provide a valid knowledge. Therefore, words and sentences must be used in a specific sense whose meaning will be clear. As a result, it could be treated as a valid pramana. Pramana 2.4 Comparison Upamana. It is knowledge derived from similarity. It has been defined as the knowledge of the relation between a word and its denotation. According to the Nyaya philosophy, comparison Upamana is the third source of valid knowledge. The expression Upamana is derived from the two words Upa and Mana. The word Upa means similarity or sadhursya, and the word Mana means cognition. Thus, generally speaking, Upamana as a source of knowledge is derived from the similarity between two things object. It is a source of knowledge of the relation between a word and its denotation. What the word refers to. Example of Upamana: a person does not know what a squirrel is. It is told by a forester that it is a small animal like rat, but it has a long furry tail and stripes on its body. After some period of time, when sees such an animal in the forest, he knows that it is a squirrel. There are four steps involved in acquiring knowledge of an object in comparison. Upamana. First, we have an authoritative statement that a word denotes objects of a certain description. Second, when one observes any such object, has the knowledge that it answers to the given description. Third, fourth, finally, there is a recollections of the descriptive statement received from authority. For finally, there is the resulting knowledge that this kind of objects are denoted by the word is same. Here it is important to note that Buddhist philosophy does not accept comparison as an independent source of valid knowledge. On their account, comparison can be reduced to perception and testimony. The Samaksha and the Vaisesika philosophy believe that a comparison can be reduced to inference. Upamana is the pramana recognized by the Mimamsas as similar to Nyayika's views. In Upamana, knowledge of an object is determined by comparing it from other similar kinds of object. Thus, roughly, it is treated as analogy. For example, assume a situation where a man has not seen a gavai or wild cow and does not know what it is. A forester told him that a wild cow is an animal like a country cow, but she is more furious and has big horn in her forehead. In a later period, he comes across a wild cow in a forest and recognizes it as the wild cow by comparing the descriptions made by the forester. This knowledge is possible due to the upamana or comparison. The Supamana is the knowledge of the relation between a name and the object it denotes by that name. 2.5 Orthopathy Presumption. According to Kumarila Bhatta, valid knowledge is that which provides the experience of an unknown object, that which is not contradicted by other knowledge and which is free from other defect. The Mimamsas offered Savatah Pramanya Bhada or self validity or knowledge. Knowledge is valid by itself. The conditions of freedom from defects and non contradictions being satisfied, or knowledge arises as self valid Coherence and self-consistency is the nature of valid knowledge. Both Pravakar and Kumarila regard knowledge itself as pramana or means of knowledge. Jamini admits three pramanas: perception, inference, and testimony. Pravakar adds two more: comparison and implication. Kumarila further adds non-apprehension. Prabhakar and Kumarila both admit Arthapati is as an independent means of valid knowledge. Through this pramana, we discover a fact as a result of a contradiction between two facts already known to be well established. A common example is Devaduta does not take his food during daytime, yet he is quite strong and fat. We presume that the must be taking food at night. The assumption of Devaduta eating at night is a postulation. We have never seen him eating his food at night. Hence, the knowledge gained by postulation is not perception. This kind of knowledge is a peculiar or unique kind of knowledge, and it has to be considered separately. But some Indian logicians bring this pramana under inference. Disjunctive inference. All-fat persons who do not eat during day are persons who are during night. Devaduta is a fat person who does not eat during day. Therefore, Devaduta is a fat person who eats during night. 2.6 Postulation Arthapati. This is a unique source of valid knowledge offered by the Mimamsa. In other words, the Mimamsa express Arthapati as a valid method of cognition. The expression Arthapati is a combination of two words, namely Artha and Apatti. The term Artha means fact and Apatti means Kalpana, which understood as suppositions in English. Thus etymologically speaking, orthopathy is that knowledge which resolves the conflict between two facts. It entails a presuppositions which solves the problem that occurred between two facts. Orthopathy is the assumption of an unperceived fact in order to reconcile two apparently inconsistent perceived fact. When a known fact can't be accounted without another fact, we have to postulate the existence of third fact. The valid and justified knowledge of the third fact is known as orthopathy. For example, Devaduta is a fat man by fasting in the day. In the propositions, we find two facts. One, Devaduta is a human being alive and he is fat. Second, he is not eating in a daytime. In order to resolve this conflict, that is how a person will be fat and not eating anything in daytime. We postulate the existence of third fact that he must be eating in the night. Another example, John is living and who is not in home. The problem observed here is how John alive and is not found in his home. To resolve this conflict, we postulate the fact that is he may be staying in a rented house outside his home. Thus, postulation or presumption is a valid source of knowledge. It is presumption of an explanatory fact. Upapadaka from knowledge of the thing to be explained. Upapadya, the knowledge of the thing to be explained is the instrument, and the knowledge of the explanatory fact is the result. This is explained by the well-known example of Devadatta. Devadatta does not eat during the daytime. He is fat. These are known facts. If one does not postulate that Devadatta eats at night, The sin fact remains unexplained postulation according to Advaita also proves falsity of the world. The scriptural statement, the knower of self, transcendent sorrow, reveals falsity of world by applications of postulation. Here the word sorrow indicates bondage which can be removed by self-knowledge, since the statement says knower of self. If the falsity of bondage is not postulated, then removal of bondage by knowledge can't be said. Hence, bondage or world as false is known by postulation. In postulation, we presume something present elsewhere. There can't be anything else to arrive at Brahman by postulation. 2.7 Anupalabdhi, non-apprehension. Anupalabdhi is the immediate knowledge of the non-existence of object. Kumarila admits this, but Prabhakar reject it. It is related to the category of abhava. For example, an umbrella which is expected to be seen in a particular corner of a room is not seen there. We known about the non-existence of the umbrella through a separate pramana. Anupalabdhi Naya through its accepts non-existence as a category, has no separate pramana to understand it. According to them, the non-existence of an object can be known by perception itself, as in the case of perceiving the bare floor. But according to Mimamsa, since this is no sense object contact, we require a new pramana to know the non-existence of an object. This is a unique feature of Mimamsa epistemology. This is an independent source of valid knowledge subscribed by the Mimamsa philosophy. Non-apprehension is the immediate knowledge of the non-existence of an object. The object does not exist in a particular place and a particular time, but it exists elsewhere to pre-receive the non-existence of that particular object in a given situation. Place is known as anupalabdhi. For example, there is no book on the table. Here an individual does not pre-receive the book directly through his or sense organs, but the knowledge of the ये रेकॉर्डिंग करी दଉଛି पैसा मिलिବ of the absence or non-existence of the book on the table arises because of the non-precision of the predictable object. The absence of an object from the situation in which it should be available is said to be its non-existence, and to possesses the knowledge of non-existence of object in an existence form is called as anupalabdhi. The means of valid knowledge known as non-apprehension is the extraordinary cause of that apprehension of non-existence which is not due to knowledge as an instrument. A thing can be known by non-apprehension which has the capacity to be apprehended at a different time. For instance, one can understand the absence of a pot in a place, since pot as an object is apprehended previously or at a later period. Here non-existence of a thing is known, and Brahman being ever existent, that it is never available from non-apprehension.